Hello and welcome to the hard sell, where the stick in the swill-bucket rattles back. Frogs!
There's something fascinating about the sound of a frog. Here we show you a close-up of a frog croaking.
Just wanted to include that on general principles. Today's episode is another reading of Pavlov's Bell. And today we're heading into the world of fairy tales, specifically the dark and woody Bavarian path laid out by the Brothers Grimm. The story of the Frog Prince. A prince gets turned into a frog and has to painstakingly convince the usual beautiful princess to kiss him in order to break the spell. Arne Thompson type 440. Passed into the collective consciousness as better than some because of its almost algebraic simplicity. Of course, most of these old folk and fairy tales can be boiled down to very basic elements, that's the whole point. But this one in particular practically boils itself. Compared with, say, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which has at least 3 main characters and a minimum of 2 settings, it's downright minimalist. You can tell it in 30 seconds. A princess, a prince what's currently a frog, a 2-act plot structure. Usually there's a golden ball and a well, but even those are optional. The ball is a plot device that can easily be skipped, and a pond or swamp or any amphibian supporting body of water works just as goodly as well. 2 characters and some water. All other details are gravy, which is how Disney managed to retell it in 1920s New Orleans with voodoo. This basic simplicity makes it good for advertising purposes as well. Like I said, you could tell that 2-act story in 30 seconds, which is how long an advert takes. It's so simple you could even play it more or less straight, like Carling did in 1980.
I bet he drinks Carling Black Label.
Give him a chance. He's only just started going out with girls.
Even frogs leap at the chance of a pint that's brewed to give a fuller flavour than any other leading lager.
Carling Black Label.
Marcus Gilbert as the transformed prince in that one, having been unavoidably born with the face of a dashing prince and or cad, and going on to play those roles for the rest of his life. It's a living, and he was very good at it. Also note the Disney music. A lot of fairy tale tropes end up being reused in advertising, come filtered through the mouse's prism. Snow White, for instance, will often resemble their specific version. I'm sure we'll do Snow White one day. Anyway, the point is there was no such Disney version of The Frog Prince until 2000 and that one was relatively revisionist. So there's no sort of classic definitive version of the story for these older adverts to reference. But the mouse still seems to basically own the concept of fairy tales, to the extent that the quickest way to establish the correct mood, musically speaking, is to quote their famous soundtrack melodies, or at least the choral style they were played in. Anyway, playing it straight, albeit with the addition of some sarcastic commentary, is all very well, but it's hardly the most interesting way of selling a product. If an advert uses a reference or a trope, it's usually to subvert it. That's more interesting, and therefore more memorable. It helps, but is by no means crucial, if the product and the reference have something in common. Obviously that wasn't the case with the Carling advert. The 2 elements had nothing to do with each other whatsoever, and it wasn't even a flaw, it was just a fact. But it is a product that connects with the story quite nicely.
Hershey's Kisses presents The Frog and the Princess.
Ribbit!
Kisses. The product is kisses. I wouldn't be surprised if they went to the froggy well, so to speak, multiple times in their history. Hopefully other times were a bit more inspired than this, though.
Next to a big kiss from a princess, a ribbit.
I like the big taste of chocolate in this little Hershey's kiss.
Ribbit.
For the big taste you can't resist, it's the big taste of chocolate in a little Hershey's Kiss.
Basically be summed up as Princess Kiss, but also Hershey's Kiss and Frog, says Ribbit. Mostly annoying rather than edifying. That's fine as far as advertisers are concerned, though. At least annoying isn't forgettable. Besides, it's just selling chocolate drops. As far as the Frog Prince story goes, though, this is also playing it relatively straight, inasmuch as its basic narrative is girl kisses frog, frog becomes man. It is played as so casual an occurrence, and I can't help but think that this is actually set after the story, and they've incorporated the transformation into their sex games to try and spice up the marriage. But then I'm broken. But like I said, before Hershey's came along, the obvious thing to do with a trope like this is to subvert it. And the obvious subversion is the quasi-feminist power to the princess angle, as seen here.
Beautiful princess, you have freed me from my spell. Now I shall take you as my bride, and we shall live together forever. I also have this fabulous castle set in the...
Well, who did you expect? Snow White?
Didn't have very much to do with Iron Brew, did it? This is when they were selling it to most of England for the first time, so they stayed away from the usual hyper-Scottish imagery. Still had a Scotsman in it, though. Yes, that was John Barrowman. Around the same time, he was a live and kicking wildcard. I don't know about you, but I can definitely believe in the fabulousness of his castle. And he was being shockingly disrespected by Julie Cox, in the same year that she played the childlike Empress in the shit and awful Never-Ending Story 3. You may notice that she isn't particularly childlike. She wasn't in the film either. If only that was the only thing wrong with that fucking movie. She's done good stuff as well, it's okay. So that's the obvious subversion. The princess ain't impressed and or actively prefers the frog. Sky Broadband did another version of that back in the early teens, when they were doing a whole fairy tale related campaign. All very arch and self-aware, of course, and their take on the Frog Prince was no exception. In fact, right from the start, it seems to be taking place in a mythical land where everyone's already familiar with the stories they're in, and in this case have decided to skip straight to the end instead of making the frog work for it.
Once upon a time, a beautiful princess was about to kiss a frog.
He won't change. He's hopeless. I used to go out with him. Couldn't even get him to switch his broadband.
From BT to Sky? But it's so simple.
I told him that. He just started muttering about reliability and speed.
But Sky never slows you down at peak times, no matter how much you use.
BT can't say that.
And he slimed all over my sister.
But, babes, I can change.
So the frog changed his broadband to Sky and enjoyed truly unlimited 20 meg broadband, and he lived happily ever after. Sky, believe in better.
Kind of petered out at the end there, don't you think? It's almost like this frog was ultimately going to be the main mascot for the entire campaign, so they didn't want to end on the punchline that he's a twat, even though it kind of collapses the fragile joke. Oh well. That leads us into another popular subversion, though. The prince turns out to be a douche, as done by Red Bull.
Ribbit, Ribbit.
Hey, it's the legendary Frog Prince.
Yeah?
And I bet you want me to kiss you.
No, actually, Princess, I'm feeling a little sluggish. A Red Bull energy drink is really what I want.
Oh, all right, as long as you still turn into a prince. Oh, thank God, you're totally beefy. Wait, where are you going?
I want to check out the other princesses. Keep my options open. Excuse me.
Oh, typical prince. Red Bull gives you wings.
The problem with these Red Bull cartoons is that they're made to be redubbed with every language imaginable, which not only makes them generic as fuck with a minimum of mouth movement to save on lip sync, it makes the comic timing into a hostage to fortune as well, depending on how and indeed if they can make it all fit in their chosen language. Also, Red Bull are one of the most quietly sinister companies around at the moment, which is actually quite impressive. Anyway, you may notice that this is another one where the characters already know the story and how it goes, although with the minimalistic style of Red Bull's advertising, they kinda have to. Or here's another take from Mitsubishi. It's a Magnolia Extras convention. If you haven't seen the film, forget I said that. And then see the film.
Kiss me, please.
Hey, this one comes with his own horse. That raises questions that you're clearly not supposed to think about. Let's think about them. So, when the witch or whoever transformed him, was he sitting on his horse? Was it too much trouble to transform him alone, so he ended up as a frog hopping about on the saddle? Was the magic area-based, so that the horse was dragged in through some kind of splash effect? Or could she just not be bothered worrying about it either way? And he was still just the one frog. Was that frog composed of the consciousness of a man and a horse equally? Did they share the frog body? Did the horse run the back end of the frog, so it was constantly hopping off looking for carrots or trying to kick its predators to death? Or was it an amalgamated human equine co-consciousness of some sort? Running a frog? How confused must that have been? And if that is the case, did any remnant remain afterwards? Is the prince going to be plagued for the rest of his life with an urge to snuffle oats out of a bag, while the horse is constantly bellowing at passers-by, forgetting it can't talk English? Are they both going to try and eat flies? Witchcraft destroys minds and reaps souls, children. Anyway, none of this matters because, as said, the prince is a douche, and soon has it away in the Mitsubishi Lancer. Which lends credence to my co-consciousness theory, actually. I wouldn't want to ride around on a horse with whom I'd recently been co-piloting a frog. In fact, if I just spent an indeterminate amount of time sharing my mind, my perceptions, and my very anima with a dumb animal, I'd want to put as much distance between myself and that animal as possible. Look on the bright side, lady. Free horse. Here's another one where the characters already know the story.
Hey, princess, what you doing?
When I kiss this frog, he will turn into a handsome prince, and we will live happily ever after.
Wouldn't you rather have some Honey Nut Cheerios?
No. No, I wouldn't. I'd rather have an immensely rich, powerful and sexy life partner and a guaranteed happy life. I can then have all the friggin' Cheerios I want.
But he's a prince.
But who can say no to real golden honey in every O?
Lots of people. Oh, here's a thought. Have a bowl of cheap cereal and get the prince. Have both, you're royalty.
Maybe we should just be friends.
Ooh, red-pilled by a cereal. Yeah, I can actually believe in at least the potential for a cereal so delicious it cools your passion for your life partner. I mean, I've eaten Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes. Cheerios ain't it, though.
Honey Nut Cheerios, the irresistible part of this good breakfast.
Complete good breakfast. Not even saying nutritious anymore, just good. Remember, eat a pear, a bunch of grapes, and a croissant, and an entire jug of milk. And just to be safe, 100 weight of bran.
You're not really a prince, are you? No.
Oh, sod off, you cock-blocking bee. Another way of subverting the trope also helps with the advertising aspect. The kiss isn't enough, it's the product that's the real magical transformative twiddly-diddly-duppity-doo. Such an obvious notion that I'm kind of surprised I've only found this one example, from what I think is a Hong Konger advert from the late 90s.
I got a swinging little princess, but I'm just a frog in a tree. Yeah, that's me. And she really wants to know if there's something more there to see.
Cool.
Well, let me introduce the prince. Oh yeah, the prince that's really me. And you can be my queen for eternity.
What is going on with that song? An apparent attempt at Britpop that instead ends up as a pointed and even savage satire of the genre by mistake. Well, next change from the usual Disney pastiches. There's a sort of variation on this idea from Capital One, which I found quite amusing.
You're no rich prince.
Sorry. Rich prince rewards begin at 2 kisses. To qualify, eligible. Additionally, the magic spell reserves the right to lock out the primary kiss giver from any and all. Kisses expire 6 seconds from date of pucker. All kisses are non-transferable.
Is this how your cash rewards card treats you? Introducing no-hassle cash rewards. Earn cash on every purchase, everywhere.
Or just use straightforward cash. Because this is from 2007 when cash was still a thing.
Plus a 25% annual bonus.
Yeah, okay.
But you're just 1 kiss away. What's in your wallet?
I told you, cash. Oh, hang on, he's a centaur. Must have been an early experiment from the witch responsible for the Mitsubishi advert. Or maybe this is the result she was going for. Hard to say, really. Although it's hard to imagine this being the desired result of anything for anyone. And just to finish up, another straightforward take for Dentine Chewy Chewy Chews, which amuses me because it's so blatantly ripping off Disney's biggest movie since The Lion King.
It's been such a long time since anybody touched me. The way that you touch me. So kiss me again, 'cause only you can stop this stuttering.
Dentine ice. Icy fresh breath changes everything.
See, it's that thing you like. But it's a different fairy tale, so it's not a rip-off. Please, for the love of Christ, don't sue us. Of course they didn't. Hardly worth it. The whole frog prince trope, combined with the kiss-breath connection, could be a useful angle for a chewing gum advert, but this one's much more interested in the ice aspect, because it allows them to ride the zeitgeist with the Frozen imagery. The Grimms lose out to Hans Christian Andersen in that one. To be perfectly honest, this advert probably did its best business for Ben's brother. I think that's enough frog, don't you? I was considering doing an episode on fairy tales in general, but there's so many of them, and so many adverts using them in so many different ways, it would have been pointlessly reductive. Plus, doing it this way gives me vast tracts of material. Well, a good half dozen, anyway. Coming up next, an hour-long special on adverts derived from the Bremen Town musicians. Or Rike with a tuft, maybe. Piff Paff Poultry, anyone?
Jump in the water. Sweet little princess, let me introduce this frog nest. You alone can get him singing. He's all puffed up, wanna be your king. Oh, you can do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Lady, kiss that frog. Splash, dash, heard your call. Bring you back your golden ball.
You just sat through a Bob the Fish production. Nice! If you haven't already, you absolutely must check out bobthefish.org.uk. Literally hundreds more videos not unlike that one, adding up to days worth of entertainment and all absolutely free. But if you're not a cold-hearted skinflint, you can always support us on Patreon. For as little as anything at all, you can make programs like the one you just watched possible in the first place, and become eligible for bonus material such as glimpses of the book I'm writing about the BBC, monthly riffings on random commercial breaks, the complete archives of the angry political satire magazine Two Sons, and even the odd very occasional bonus video essay unavailable anywhere else. If nothing else, you should prevent me from starving and or freezing to death in the foreseeable future, so that'll be nice. No pressure or anything. bobthefish.org.uk. You make it what it is.